Your 20s come with pressure to be successful, to be ahead, to have it all figured out. Social media says you need to hustle. Motivational speakers say you need to grind. But very few talk about what actually matters. What if the real challenge of your 20s isn't how much you can achieve, but how deeply you can understand yourself? Not the highlight reels, not the life plans, not the expectations people placed on you before you even knew what you wanted. Just the truth, that this decade is messy, uncertain, and incredibly important. Not because you have to get everything right, but because what you choose to care about will quietly shape everything that comes next. So this isn't about figuring it all out. It's about figuring you out. If you're in your 20s, you'd know it isn't a straight line. It's a loop of starting over, of questioning yourself, of moving forward and still feeling lost. And the hardest part? Most of what's loudest in your life right now, likes, timelines, comparisons, won't matter 10 years from now. But some things will. Quiet things, unseen decisions, the relationships you build, the habits you repeat, the truths you choose to face. I'm going to walk you through the things that actually shape your 20s and often get overlooked. If you stay till the end, I'll share the one question I now ask myself every time I feel lost or behind, and why it's helped me more than any productivity tip or life hack ever could. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button and tap on the bell icon so you don't miss out on videos like this. Let's go on. When you're in your 20s, it feels like the world handed you a checklist and it's never ending. Build a career, find a partner, stay fit, travel, invest. And if you're honest, you're trying to do it all at once before you even know who you really are. But too often, we treat it like opening night, like everything has to be perfect. One of the biggest mistakes people make in their 20s is believing they have to figure everything out before they take action. They wait to feel certain. They wait to feel confident. They wait for a perfect plan. But life doesn't work that way. Clarity doesn't come before action. It comes because of it. That's why one of the most powerful things you can do in your 20s is start treating your decisions like experiments, not permanent commitments. Think about it like this. You don't have to marry every job you try. You don't need to turn every interest into a career. You're not locked into one path just because you took a few steps in that direction. Instead of saying, this has to be the thing, say, let me try this and see what I learn. That shift from commitment to curiosity can change everything. You might try learning a new skill, starting a side project, or applying for a job that scares you a little. The point isn't to succeed perfectly. The point is to learn. What energizes me? What drains me? What feels natural? What feels forced? These small experiments give you feedback. They help you understand yourself in real time, not in theory. And the truth is, this is how identity is built. Not through endless thinking or comparing, but through showing up consistently, testing your limits, and paying attention to what feels aligned. When something clicks, double down. Go deeper. And when something doesn't feel right, step back. Let it go. There's no shame in stopping. That's part of the process too. Your 20s aren't about making perfect choices. They're about making honest ones. Trying, adjusting, learning, and trying again. The more you experiment with how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what you invest your energy into, the closer you get to understanding what actually matters to you. So don't pressure yourself to commit to a 10-year plan. Instead, commit to learning more about yourself through action. That's how real clarity is built. You can have the best intentions, the right mindset, even a well-structured plan. But if your environment doesn't support it, it slowly wears you down. What's around you? The people, the noise, the habits, the expectations, all of it shapes your behavior more than motivation ever could. That's why in your 20s, one of the most important things you can do is pay attention to your environment. Who do you spend time with regularly? What types of conversations fill your day? Are you surrounded by people who challenge you to grow, or people who normalize staying stuck? This isn't about cutting people off or becoming isolated. It's about becoming intentional with who and what you let influence your everyday decisions. Because the truth is, your environment can either reinforce the person you're becoming or constantly pull you back to who you used to be. And it's not just people. Your digital space matters too. The content you consume, the apps you open first thing in the morning, the voices you hear when you scroll, they all become part of your inner dialogue over time. And without even realizing it, you start to copy the goals, the pace, and the expectations of people you've never even met. In your 20s, your biggest wins might not come from working harder, but from stepping back and reshaping the space around you. That could mean creating physical space, decluttering your room, setting up a morning corner, or building a simple desk routine that grounds you. It could mean curating your online space, unfollowing accounts that trigger comparison, and following people who remind you of your values, not just your ambition. If you don't take control of it, it takes control of you. So as you grow in your 20s, don't just change your goals, change your surroundings. Because when your environment supports your growth, progress starts to feel less like a struggle and more like alignment. There's a message we've all heard. Your time is your most valuable asset. And while that's partly true, it's not the full picture. Because time without energy is useless. You can have a full day ahead of you, no meetings, no distractions, and still get nothing meaningful done. Because you feel drained, distracted, or disconnected from what you're doing. That's why in your 20s, learning how to protect and manage your energy is one of the most powerful things you can do. It's not about pushing harder. It's about understanding your rhythms. When do you feel most alert? What drains you faster than anything else? What gives you life again, even after a long week? Start tracking your energy, not just your tasks. Notice how certain environments, conversations, or habits make you feel, not just how much time they take. You might realize that scrolling on your phone for 20 minutes doesn't seem like much, but it leaves you foggy for an hour. Or that spending 15 minutes journaling in the morning gives you more clarity than any productivity app ever has. Managing your energy is also about making fewer, better decisions. We burn out not just because we work too hard, but because we split ourselves across too many obligations. When everything matters, nothing gets your full presence. And without presence, progress feels like pressure. So part of mastering your 20s is learning how to say no. Not out of fear or laziness, but out of respect for what you know you do best when you're fully present. It's about creating margin, space to rest, space to think, space to choose. Because in the end, it's not how many hours you have in a day that shapes your future. It's what you're able to give those hours. And if that kind of mindset is something you want to build more of, not just hacks or hustle, but thoughtful, intentional progress, then you're in the right place. That's what this channel is here for. So feel free to subscribe if this speaks to where you are right now. Because when your energy is protected, aligned, and intentionally directed, that's when you start to feel momentum. Not forced, not frantic, just steady. One day, your 20s will be a memory. Not a blur of pressure and confusion, but a decade you'll look back on with clarity. And when that day comes, you won't wish you hustled harder, or that you hit more milestones, or that you looked more impressive to strangers. You'll wish you had slowed down enough to figure out what actually matters to you. You'll wish you'd taken care of your body, not just to look good, but to feel steady. You'll wish you'd had the courage to walk away from people who drained you. You'll wish you'd stopped comparing and started choosing. Not for perfection, not for applause, but for alignment. You'll wish you asked yourself the harder questions earlier. Is this the life I want to build? Am I proud of how I spend my days? Am I living with direction or just drifting with pressure? The truth is, your 20s aren't about being ahead. They're about laying a foundation you won't want to abandon later, a foundation of self-respect, of emotional clarity, of thoughtful decisions that reflect who you are, not who you were told to be. The habits you build now will either carry you or control you. So don't rush this chapter. Don't trade it for someone else's pace. And don't numb it away because it's uncomfortable. face it, because someday you'll look back, and if you've done the hard, honest work, you'll be grateful you didn't just survive your 20s, you built something real. Your 20s aren't a test you pass. They're a space you shape, slowly, imperfectly, intentionally. And even if you feel behind, even if you're unsure, you're not lost. You're just in the process of becoming. You don't have to figure it all out today. You just have to care enough to start asking the right questions. And if you're someone who wants to do that, to build a life that actually feels like yours, I make videos to help with that. So, if this spoke to you, consider subscribing. Not for me, for you. Because these conversations won't always trend, but they will matter when you're ready to listen. And here's the question I promised. Next time you feel lost, overwhelmed, or unsure of what to do next, ask yourself this. If I already knew who I was becoming, what would I do today? Then do that.